Hey, Cody King here. So on this episode of True Indie, I'm going to be explaining basically how it went about from beginning to end on achieving and finishing A Place of Shadows. So anybody that's been following me, following my YouTube channel, knows that I've kind of grown a fascination with the development of the smartphone filmmaking. I know that there's some pros that are out there that have gone through extreme measures to be able to create like films such as Soderbergh through mobile filmmaking, and also with the whole thing that surrounds Tangerine itself and the film festival and whatnot that it was in. And the reason why I basically mention these two directors is because I've had a fascination with wanting to create, sculpt, and push the limits of a phone and filmmaking with a phone to higher grounds. And I already knew that this wasn't going to be an easy task and that it's probably not going to be widely accepted. Matter of fact, whenever I first started releasing it, the first thing I just got was hate, just all the way across. A lot of people getting pissed off that I'm not using higher end, equipment, and so not everybody has that type of money. See, that's the thing is, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and I've got a lot of overhead as far as like the things that go on around me. And so with this, I don't have a hell of a lot of money to just sit there and throw out. So I had to think of something that would make sense as far as being kind of like a test project, so to speak. I had already done a student film, The Road to Nowhere, and with my first little student film, I realized that there was like a lot of things that lacked as far as creating the overall idea and image and whatnot. And from there, I decided I was going to sculpt out something that was in the horror range. Something that, could be distinguished as creepy and whatnot. And find a way to film it in a way that, I could do it feasibly for about $7,000. And so I started A Place of Shadows. And from the first 11 minutes, I would say that there's like kind of like almost like a slow burn feel because of the fact that it's through a found footage type like look, and you're following along this guy who's going to the Airbnb and then ends up running into the cult, and inevitably bullshit happens. And instead of being able to explain kind of like the possession aspect a little more, I did some writing text, which I, was told, that part could have been better. Overall, once I ended up completing, like, the full thing of The Place of Shadows, I actually received quite a bit of love from it. And, I myself, I enjoy it, but I'm also somebody who can watch a movie that has poor quality, as long as it has a good script and it's entertaining. I mean, you could make a movie about a tire that rolls around and kills people. That right there in itself sounds like a stupid concept. But I watched the movie, and the movie was actually pretty damn good because it was well written, and the overall premise and comedy and whatnot that ended up basically happening and stuff, it really sold the movie. And so as the movie goes on with The Place of Shadows, and from there we just kind of like started piecing it all together. But at the Roxall Trails, we had Kaylee, we had Colby, Steven, and Caitlin Gunter, and myself, of course. And then we had the PA, which the person that was on set that was PA was my cousin Jordan. And a lot of the people that ended up taking part in this film, it was it was clearly just voluntary. So people who were willing to volunteer for the project and whatnot and stuff ended up getting kind of like a part and got, to help work on a film set. Drone, we had a drone pilot, Joe Shannon White, who was a friend of my father's who had passed, who opened up his own business, and I asked him if he would be willing to come out, shoot some scenes and stuff for one day, and he said yeah, and he came out. We had a pretty good time, ended up running through and basically got the entire overhead shots and whatnot all in one day. We had a 3-day shoot for the Roxall Trails piece and ended up completing it. And the overall look and stuff wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. And whenever I told people no, it was filmed on my smartphone, it kind of took people a little bit back. And some people were like, "Oh yeah, I could definitely tell." No, you couldn't. But, there's always going to be those people that always want to just shit on everything for some fucking reason. It always happens. Anyway, so we ended up shooting throughout the scenes to get better audio. I was using the microphone from my phone. I didn't have any external mics or anything, so I needed to make sure that I was able to get the best audio possible. I knew that for the most part, as far as like exterior, whenever it was like going through, showing like them setting up camp and whatnot, there was going to be music being used during those times to kind of like give a montage effect of stuff of them kind of having fun and whatnot. And that I was going to limit as far as dialogue in those scenes. For the actual like big dialogue pieces that I wanted to make sure were heard by the audience, I shot one of the scenes inside the car. That helped block out the wind. Of course, there was a busy highway that was right next to it.
We'll wait for that big old truck to pass by because it's making a lot of noise.
And we had to just kind of wait until there was a gap of like cars and whatnot and shoot the pieces really quick. Stop, shoot the pieces, stop, shoot the pieces. And we went through multiple takes inside the car shooting these pieces, and we ended up getting them done. And the audio actually turned out pretty damn good because of the fact that I isolated the audio into a closed environment. Now, if you're using external pieces, you can get away with a lot more. But I was using quite literally the bare minimum of everything that I was doing. I had a gimbal stabilizer that I ended up picking up for $100 at a pawn shop. And that right there served for the smoothness and the dolly shots, basically with the smartphone, and how it looked as far as being, not jittery, not being shaken. And then, of course, I'm not going to show any of the spicy stuff, but there was some spicy scenes. Now, those individuals got paid, and they got paid very well for the scenes that they contributed to the overall, factor. After the Roxall shot, we had the entire investigation type thing that went on with the cop, where he's chasing the man or whatever, the killer, me. And as he's going through his entire thing, you kind of see he's really, distraught because of the fact that he hasn't gotten this guy. It's kind of like his first peek into the whole detective realm, and he becomes kind of obsessed about catching this guy. And then a year passes, and he's still going after this guy, and he's kind of just following the trail of bodies. We used family members' houses and whatnot to get the inside crime scene shots, as far as whenever he comes and finds the body in the tub that's smeared with blood, says the lamb and all that. we utilized other people's houses, and pretty much we took whatever we could get our hands on, and we'd find a way to be able to shoot something there. And overall, it looked like we had just like this unlimited access to a whole bunch of different places, when it was really just us going up to people and being like, hey, on the weekend, if you're not doing anything, is there any way we could use your house? And it was either a yes or a no, depending. And whoever said yes, and so we scheduled something up, set up the date, basically got it going. I shopped around, found the actors. Caitlin Gunter, I ended up meeting on a film set that she was doing. She was directing, and it was a film called Separated. And then I ended up going on to Facebook groups and shopping around trying to find somebody on the Facebook groups, and I came across Kaylee, and Kaylee, happened to have some credits and acting and stuff behind her. Now, I could have ended up going bigger by offering bigger paid, but Kaylee, she ended up getting paid for the time that she was there. Caitlin was unpaid. It was more of a favor, but I paid for her travel, and I also found her accommodations as far as staying. And then Matt, who played the detective, he got paid for some scenes that he was doing, but for the most part, he lives right next door to me, and he's my brother-in-law, and he was wanting to dip his toes into this project as well. So A Place of Shadows ended up coming out to a total of I think it was 7,146. So I ended up getting close to the 7,000 mark. And overall, it was a fun project. There was a lot of things that I ended up taking away from it, learning from it, as far as mistakes and all. And I already know that the film itself isn't perfect, which, I mean, what film really is? Everybody is subjective in their own way, and no matter what, somebody's going to find an issue with something that you've done. Overall, throughout my journey of shooting on smartphones, I've created quite a bit as far as individual projects that have actually managed to make a splash within the filmmaking community, whether it was my documentary Guts and Pride, the original release of A Place of Shadows, which was the 30-minute version called just Rocksaw, A Place of Shadows itself, or The Road to Nowhere, which is right now sitting at almost 10,000 on YouTube. Overall, my projects have done pretty well, and I look to kind of keep creating things on the smartphone. My biggest complaint as far as smartphone filmmaking is the fact that we've advanced as far as technology goes so far quite a bit, and yet there are a limited amount of accessories to basically take your smartphone and really enhance it and create the dynamic range of filmmaking that you really want to do. Now, for somebody who has an Apple product like an iPhone, there's a lot more available for the iPhone than there is for Androids and these other companies, which doesn't make sense to me. If I was a phone accessory manufacturer, I would try to tackle both fields to double my profit, instead of just focusing on one and keeping my revenue to a limited amount. Now, they're probably still making a big amount of money off of all the people who own iPhones and want to really push their limits as far as filmmaking on their phones. I mean, to each their own. If you like iPhone, shoot on an iPhone. If you like Android, shoot on an Android. But I just, it really irks me that there's not more that can be supplied towards like phones like mine. So I've gone to the links of creating my own things as far as like external battery holders and whatnot and stuff, building rigs and everything. Overall, I've ended up having to basically create my own gear, the things that I find useful. For the most part, though, I've enjoyed shooting on smartphone. You can utilize your camera in ways that you can't with a big cinema camera. As far as like putting it down in the floorboard underneath the gas pedal, getting angles that you just can't get anywhere else. I was like mounting for your phone and whatnot and stuff. So throughout the course of my journey, I'm gonna kind of keep going this route. Eventually, I want to end up kind of mastering the art of mobile filmmaking, and eventually create like projects that people will be kind of shocked that, to find out that it was actually shot on a smartphone. But until then, I would say that's pretty much it. My Place of Shadows project was pretty amazing, and I plan to keep shooting on smartphones from here on, with the help of course of like a DSLR or something like that for certain things that the phone can't do. But overall, I would say that I'm really interested to see exactly where I take